I hadn't seen her in years, but the moment she opened the door, I forgot every polite word I'd practiced. Her name was Clara, though I'd never said it out loud before. Back when I used to come by to hang out with her son, she was just Mrs. Rivera, the woman with the quiet voice and the silver ring she twisted when she thought no one noticed. Now she stood in the doorway, barefoot, wearing an oversized button-up that looked more like memory than clothing. Her hair was pinned up, not neatly, and her expression softer than I remembered. "Julian?" she said, as if she wasn't sure it was really me. I nodded. "Yeah, it's been a while." She smiled, that kind that doesn't quite reach the eyes. "You've grown so much." And before I could reply, her hand brushed my arm. Light, almost accidental, but not quite. The touch stayed there a second too long, like she realized something at the same time I did. Her house smelled like rain and coffee grounds, the kind of scent that makes you think of early mornings and things left unsaid. I followed her inside, the wood floor cool under my shoes. Every corner looked familiar. The same framed photos, the same faint hum of a record player. Yet the air felt heavier, different. "Your mom said you moved back," she said, pouring water into a glass, not looking up. "Yeah," I said, leaning on the counter. "Just for a bit. Freelance work's easier from here." She handed me the glass, and when our fingers touched, something small and electric flickered between us. She didn't pull away, not immediately. Just a pause, then a quiet, almost nervous exhale. The silence after that wasn't awkward, it was alive. Clara had always carried herself like someone who'd learned how to hold the world at arm's length. But now, standing so close, I could see the small cracks in that control, the way her eyes drifted to my mouth when she spoke, or how she caught herself doing it and pretended to focus elsewhere. "You still draw?" she asked, walking toward the window, her voice calm but too even. "Sometimes. Mostly design work now." She nodded. "You were always good with your hands." The air tightened between us. Something about the way she said it, soft, distracted, like she didn't realize how it sounded. I tried to laugh it off, but it came out rougher than I meant. "Guess some things don't change." Her reflection in the window smiled faintly, almost to herself. It was strange being there again, older aware. The way she moved, the way her breath caught when I stepped closer to set my glass down beside hers. The edge of her sleeve brushed my wrist. A small thing, but it felt deliberate. Outside, thunder rolled in the distance. The sound filled the silence like a held breath. She turned to me, close enough that I could see the faint freckles across her collarbone. "You really have grown," she said, quieter this time, her voice almost breaking on the last word. I didn't answer. She reached up, brushed a strand of hair from her face, and for a second, her hand hesitated in the air between us, as if she was deciding something. Then a knock. Sharp, sudden. Her eyes widened, the spell breaking. She stepped back, exhaling. "That'll be," she started, but her voice faltered. I stood there, pulse still in my throat, staring at her hand, the one that almost touched me. And for the first time, I wasn't sure if I wanted the door to open. It rained for 3 straight days after that. The kind of rain that blurs everything, thoughts, windows, boundaries. I told myself I wouldn't go back, that whatever passed between us was nothing, static in an empty house. But the excuse came easy when her son texted me about a design project for her photography exhibit. She said you'd be perfect for it. So there I was again, standing on her porch, rain dripping from my jacket, pretending not to know what I was walking into. Clara opened the door before I knocked twice. Her hair was loose this time, damp around the edges. "Julian," she said softly, surprised but not unhappy. "Come in before you drown." The living room smelled faintly of citrus and wetwood. Prints leaned against the walls, black and white portraits of strangers who looked like they were keeping secrets. She handed me a towel without meeting my eyes. "Sorry for the mess," she said. "It's fine. I miss this place." Her laugh was quiet, almost offensive. "Don't say that. It makes me feel ancient." "You're not," I said before I could stop myself. She froze, towel still in her hands, then smiled in a way that didn't match her eyes. "Careful. You sound like you mean that." "I do." The silence that followed wasn't comfortable, but it wasn't cold either. just full. We worked at the dining table, shoulder to shoulder. She'd lean over to point at a photo, her breath brushing my cheek, the sleeve of her shirt grazing my arm. Every time it happened, I told myself to stay still, to breathe evenly. She asked about my work, my relationships, if I ever thought about leaving the city again. I asked if she was still married, even though I knew she wasn't. Divorced 3 years now, she said. I'm better at being alone than being with someone who doesn't notice when I stop talking. Her tone was casual, but her fingers twisted the silver ring on her thumb, the same nervous habit from before. I wanted to say something honest, like I'd notice, but instead I nodded. That's fair. Later, when she stood to stretch, her hand brushed my shoulder in passing. Not flirtation, not exactly. More like instinct, but my skin reacted before my mind caught up. She noticed. I saw it in the pause that lingered after, the slight tremor in her inhale. Sorry, she murmured, withdrawing. Don't be. Our eyes met and stayed. A second too long. Maybe two. The rain hit harder against the windows. Somewhere a record crackled softly, the same song looping in the background. Low, slow, impossible to ignore. Clara looked down, then back at me. You've changed, she said, almost a whisper. You don't hide as much. I learned that from you, I said. Her lips parted like she might reply, but instead she reached across the table, picked up one of the photos, and held it between us. A portrait of two people mid-embrace, faces unseen. Her fingers brushed mine as she handed it over. Neither of us moved away, and for the briefest, most dangerous moment, the space between us disappeared. The rain finally stopped the next morning, but the air stayed heavy, the kind that clings to your skin, makes every breath feel borrowed. Clara texted first. Can you drop by? Need help with the lighting setup before the client arrives. Just a favor. That's all. When I arrived, her hair was still damp, her shirt rolled at the sleeves. She was kneeling by a light stand, frowning at the cord tangled around her wrist. You always fight with inanimate objects? I asked. She glanced up, smiling despite herself. Only the stubborn ones. I bent to help, close enough to smell the faint trace of coffee on her breath. Our hands tangled briefly in the same loop of cable. Neither of us moved. Thanks, she murmured, her voice softer now. The quiet that followed was full again, like before, but this time it had teeth. I stepped back, tried to make space, but she was already standing too close. You didn't have to come, she said. I know. Then why did you? I opened my mouth, then stopped. There was no right answer that didn't sound like confession. Before I could think of something safe, a phone buzzed sharply on the counter. Her son's name flashed on the screen. She froze. We both stared at the glowing name until it stopped ringing. She turned the phone face down. He's at work, she said quickly, like it explained something. But it didn't. It only made the air between us heavier. The rest of the morning moved in fragments, small talk, quick movements, words that didn't match the silences. When she adjusted the tripod, I steadied it from the other side. Our fingers brushed again, once then again, slower. She didn't look up, but I saw the edge of a smile flicker, then fade. You should go before he calls again, she said. I'm not sure I want to. That stopped her. She exhaled through her nose, trying not to react. You don't know what you're saying. Maybe not, I said quietly. But you do. Her eyes lifted, meeting mine, and in them, something cracked. Not wide open, but enough. For a second, the room forgot how to breathe. She reached for the light switch, but her hand shook. I caught her wrist without thinking. That was it, the spark that wasn't supposed to happen. Her pulse jumped beneath my thumb. Her breath hitched. Neither of us said a word. Julian, she whispered, warning or plea. I couldn't tell. Then, the door creaked open. Mom, a voice from the hallway. She pulled her hand away, so fast the air snapped between us. In here, she called, her voice steady again, though her eyes didn't leave mine. Footsteps came closer, then paused. Never mind, the voice said. The door shut again. Silence returned, heavier than before. Clara turned back to me slowly, eyes dark, breathing uneven. That can't happen again, she said, barely above a whisper. But her hand, the one that had been in mine, stayed resting on the edge of the table. just close enough that if I moved an inch, we'd touch again. Neither of us did. Not yet. Days passed without a word. No texts, no excuses. Just the kind of silence that burns hotter than any argument. I try to focus on work, but every detail, a sound, a scent, a line of light on a table, reminded me of her. When she finally called, her voice was calm, too calm. "Can you drop off the final proofs?" she asked. "Sure." She hesitated, then added, "Maybe stay a bit. I like to go over them together." I should have said no. I didn't. Her living room was dim when I arrived, lit only by the soft hum of a floor lamp. A half-finished glass of wine sat on the table. She looked tired, but beautiful in a way that didn't feel deliberate. Hair loose, collar of her shirt slightly open, the outline of vulnerability showing. "Thanks for coming," she said. I set the folder down. "You didn't sound sure you wanted me to." I wasn't. She met my eyes, and whatever guard she'd been holding started to slip. "Julian," she began, voice low, uncertain. This is people talk. They always do, and I don't know if I'm strong enough for that." I stepped closer before I realized I had. "Then don't listen." She gave a shaky laugh. "You make it sound simple." It could be. Her breath caught, barely audible, and I saw her hand twitch, the instinct to reach for me warring with the will to stop herself. The silence between us thickened, stretched. "You think I don't feel it?" she said suddenly, her voice trembling on the edges. "Every time you're here, I tell myself to be careful, to stop. Then why don't you?" Her eyes closed briefly, as if she hated how much that question mattered. When she opened them, the air between us was electric. She turned away, pacing to the window, rain light tracing her silhouette. "Because you make me forget who I'm supposed to be." I moved behind her, slow, deliberate, close enough that I could see the rise and fall of her shoulders, the way her fingers tightened against the windowsill. "You make me remember," I whispered. She turned, and we were inches apart. The sound of rain on glass filled the space where words couldn't go. I reached up, brushed a strand of hair from her face. My knuckles grazed her cheek. She didn't move, didn't breathe. Her eyes searched mine, scared, wanting, undone. "You shouldn't," she whispered. "I know." My hand slid to the back of her neck, gentle, waiting for her to pull away. She didn't. The moment balanced on a knife's edge, breath against breath, her pulse visible at her throat. "Julian," she said again, quieter now, almost breaking. And then, the faint click of the front gate outside. Her whole body tensed. She stepped back, eyes wide. "He's home early." The words barely left her lips before she turned away, pressing a hand to her mouth. I stood frozen, the warmth of her skin still on my fingers, her scent still in the air. Neither of us said it, but both of us knew there was no going back. For 3 days, I didn't hear from her. Then a message came, short, almost businesslike. "We need to talk. Tonight." When I arrived, her door was half open. The house was quiet, too quiet, except for the faint ticking of the kitchen clock. Clara stood by the counter, phone in hand, staring at something that had already gone cold. "You should have told me," she said, without looking up. "Told you what?" She turned then, eyes sharp and wet at the edges. "That you showed him the proofs." My chest tightened. "Your son asked to see them. He said you wanted his opinion." "I didn't." Her voice cracked, low and full of disbelief. "He saw us, Julian. He saw something." My mouth went dry. "What did he say?" "Nothing. That's what scares me." She set the phone down hard on the counter. The sound made me flinch. "I spent years trying to keep my life small," she said. "Predictable. Safe. Now," she gestured vaguely, like the words wouldn't fit. "You come back, and everything starts to unravel." I took a step toward her. "Clara, don't." Her breath trembled, but her feet didn't move. "I keep thinking I'm smarter than this," she whispered. "That I can stop before it gets worse. But every time you're near me," she exhaled, shaking her head, "you make it impossible." Her voice dropped to almost nothing. "You shouldn't have come back." "I didn't plan to," I said. "I just couldn't stay away." She looked up at me then, all the fight gone, only fear and something deeper left behind. Her eyes searched my face like she was trying to memorize it before pushing me away for good. "Do you have any idea what this would do to him?" she asked. "To me?" I did. but the space between knowing and stopping was too wide to cross. Her hand brushed against mine when she reached for the glass beside me. The contact was accidental, except it wasn't. Neither of us moved. The air shifted, slow and hot. Her throat tightened as she swallowed. I told myself it was just curiosity, she said. You were just a boy who used to sit at my kitchen table. But now, she broke off, shaking her head, a bitter laugh escaping. Now I can't stop thinking about things I shouldn't even imagine. Her hand slipped, glass tipping, water spilling across the counter. She froze, breathless. Without thinking, I caught her wrist to steady her. The touch sent something through both of us. Not comfort, not safety, something more dangerous. Her pulse beat against my fingers hard and fast. This has to end, she said, but her body didn't move away. Then tell me to leave. She tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, she looked up at me, eyes unsteady, lips parting like a confession she couldn't voice. The clock ticked once, twice. She stepped closer, barely, enough that I could feel the warmth from her skin. And then she whispered, almost to herself, I don't know how. The rain had started again, soft at first, then steady. A curtain of sound that closed off the world outside. Clara didn't move. Neither did I. The spilled water glistened on the counter between us, the only thing still separating our hands. You should go, she said, but her voice was thin, unconvincing. I nodded. Didn't move either. Her eyes dropped to my mouth, then away, a motion so small it might have been imagined, if not for the tremor in her breath. Clara, I said quietly. Don't. Look at me. She did, slowly, like it cost her something. And in that look, the exhaustion, the wanting, the fear, I understood. She wasn't scared of what might happen. She was scared it already had. I've tried, she whispered, stepping closer until I could smell the faint trace of her shampoo, the warmth of her skin under the fabric. I've tried to stop thinking about you. Her voice broke, but it doesn't go away. I reached up, barely touching her cheek, my fingers trembling just shy of her skin. Then don't fight it. She closed her eyes, 1 second, 2, like she was bracing for impact. Do you have any idea what this would cost? She said. Yes. Then why? Because it's already too late. The words hung between us, unfixable. She exhaled, shaky, almost laughing through her breath. You're too young to understand what regret feels like. Maybe, I said, but I know what missing something does. Her hand rose, tentative to my chest, just fingertips at first, tracing the edge of my collarbone. Her touch burned and calmed me all at once. I caught her wrist gently, holding it there. Say it, I whispered. She looked up at me, eyes glassy, tired of pretending. I want you, she said, barely audible, like the words themselves might collapse under their weight. And there it was, the line, drawn and crossed in a single breath. We stood there, motionless, the distance between want and consequence reduced to inches. Her thumb brushed my jaw, my hand slipped behind her neck, feeling her pulse against my palm. For a moment, the world was just that. Heartbeat, breath, the hum of rain. She leaned in first, almost imperceptibly, then stopped. Her forehead rested against mine, her voice breaking into a whisper. If we start this, we can't go back. I closed my eyes. Maybe we're not supposed to. A pause. The longest one yet. Then, instead of a kiss, she pulled me into an embrace. Tight, desperate, human. I felt her exhale against my shoulder, half a sob, half relief. This isn't the ending, she said, her words muffled. But it has to be enough. I didn't answer. I just held her, knowing we'd both made the same impossible choice. Not to surrender, but not to walk away either. Outside, thunder rolled again, distant, inevitable. And for once, we didn't flinch. Weeks passed. The rain eased. The air grew warmer, and the world outside remembered how to move on. We didn't talk much during that time. A few short texts about photos, invoices, normal things meant to sound harmless. But silence has a memory. Every message carried the ghost of what wasn't said. Then one evening, she called. Her voice was calm, softer than I remembered. Can you come by? Her house looked different in sunlight. Curtains open, the smell of lavender instead of rain. She was sitting on the back steps, a mug of tea cradled in her hands, hair pulled up loosely. When she saw me, she smiled, a real one this time. "Didn't think you'd actually come." "I almost didn't." She nodded like she expected that. "I've been thinking," she said, "about everything." I sat beside her, the wood still warm from the day. Our shoulders brushed, and even that tiny touch felt like something earned. I kept wondering if what almost happened, was a mistake, she said. "Was it?" Her lips curved, small and tired. "No, just complicated." We sat quiet for a while. The sun was low, cutting gold across the grass. Her son's car was gone, the neighborhood still. "I was scared," she said after a long pause. "Not of you. Of feeling alive again. It's been years since someone saw me as more than what I was supposed to be." I turned to her. "I didn't mean to mess that up." "You didn't," she whispered. "You reminded me." A breeze shifted. Her hair fell loose, brushing her cheek. I reached up, slow, tentative, and tucked it behind her ear. My hand lingered a moment longer than it should have. She didn't pull away. Instead, she leaned in. Not for a kiss, not this time, but until her forehead rested lightly against mine. It was quiet, just her breath against my skin, her hand finding mine and staying there. "I don't know what happens next," she murmured. "I don't think we need to name it." "Then let's not." Her thumb traced small circles on my palm, a rhythm that said more than words could manage. The fear, the hesitation, all of it softened into something simpler. Not forbidden, just real. When she finally looked up, her eyes had that same glimmer they used to, but lighter now, not burdened. "Stay a while?" she asked. I smiled. "Yeah, I can do that." So we sat there, hands intertwined, the air cooling around us, the kind of silence that doesn't ache anymore. And for once, there was no pretending, no hiding, no distance left to measure. Just her, beside me, the evening folding gently into itself. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?